Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards are under $1. I'm David, and this is my voice of reason, Ruud.
Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about a fun and effective commander deck you can build without breaking the bank. Now today's deck is going to be a mono-white soldier tribal deck. As with all our decks, this deck has one additional build rule to make them cheap, and that is all cards need to be under $1 in price, with the exception of our commander. So let's take a look at the commander.
And we truly have a spiffy commander for you today. We have Odric Master Tactician for 2 and 2 white. So for 4 mana, we get a 3/4 legendary human soldier. The soldier part's important because that's after all what this deck cares about. This guy's got first strike and additionally a very cool ability. Whenever Odric Master Tactician and at least 3 other creatures attack, we get to choose how our opponent's creatures block this combat and how or if at all. So what is going to be the role of this commander? It's going to be to remove our opponent's threats with scalpel-like precision and also to allow our attacks to go unblocked should we want to do that. Ruud, what are the cards we're going to need to make this deck work?
We will have 22 soldier cards, then 15 enhancement cards, that's also some anthems of course. Then we have 14 removal cards for the cards we can deal with Odric's abilities. Then we have 8 utility cards, also some stuff to protect our army, for board wipes for example, and of course 40 lands.
Exactly. So in an ideal world, what would be the turn progression?
Turn 1 we will cast a soldier, then turn 2 some tokens, turn 3 a bigger soldier, something maybe that pumps our other soldiers. Then we have turn 4 our commander of course, preferably when we have already 3 other creatures that can attack the next turn. Turn 5 an anthem to make our army big enough, and then turn 6 onward some other big creatures and removal of course. Now one warning, don't make your army too big too soon because you will run out of steam.
Exactly.
When you have a board wipe in your hand.
So, and what is going to be the steam of this deck? It is actually the fact that we've got loads and loads of soldiers that help each other. So let's have a look at the soldier cards. We divided the soldier cards into cards that give us tokens, tappers, and synergy cards. Now the first card of our tokens is Raise the Alarm for 2 mana. It's an instant that allows us to put down 2 white soldier creature tokens. Doesn't seem very fancy, but early game, pretty nice to have 2 creatures we can attack with to get us fast to that 3 creature bonus that we require for Odric's ability.
Of course. Next card is God Favored General. For 2 mana it's a 1/1 human soldier and it is inspired. Now inspired means that whenever it untaps, for whatever reason, it will do something. In this case, you may pay 3 mana when it untaps, and if you do that, put 2 soldier creature, enchantment creature tokens onto the battlefield. So just 2 soldiers.
Yeah, exactly, just 2 soldiers. We don't really care about the fact that they're enchantments, but what we do care about is, of course, is that it's only 2 mana to play, which turn 3 you can already attack with it. Good chance you can attack with impunity, even though it's a 1/1. And then, of course, next turn you will have that 3 mana if you didn't miss your land drop, and then all of a sudden you got 3 guys, then turn 4 you can play Odric, bam, there you go. Right, Odric's coming in right on time. And later on, you could also do it because when Odric's attacking and you get to choose how people block, you can just say, okay, God Favored General does not get blocked, so you can also attack with it.
Yeah, you can just hold your cards in your hand, so if it gets removed, you will still have your cards.
Pretty sweet. Next, we have Precinct Captain for 2 mana. We get a 2/2 human soldier with first strike. That's a great deal already for an early drop. And as well, when this guy deals combat damage to a player, we get to put down a 1/1 white creature soldier token onto the battlefield.
Then we have Attended Knight. For 3 mana it's a 2/2 human knight. This time it's not a soldier. It has first strike, so that's pretty handy. And when it enters the battlefield we get to put down a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So it will produce a soldier token.
Exactly, so that's why it's in there. It's because it's actually got a pretty decent body. It doesn't get pumped from any of the other soldier things, but it's coming in with a soldier, so we'll allow it. Then we have Captain's Call for 4 mana. It's a sorcery. This time it allows us to put down 3 of those soldier tokens. It's not very fancy, but it gets the job done.
Then we have Conqueror's Pledge. For 5 mana it's a sorcery. It will put down 6 1/1 white core soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. And if you pay 11, it won't happen a lot, but it could. You can put down 12 of those tokens.
I don't think I've ever paid it for 11. Also because this deck is monocolored, we don't have ramp in here, so we have to maximize the low cost spells that we've got here, so 12 is kind of tricky. Next card, awesome card, Cloud Code Ranger for 5 mana. This guy is a 3/3 giant warrior, once again not a soldier himself, so must mean he comes in with soldiers, and he does, because this guy comes in with 3 white Kitkin soldier creature tokens and has an additional ability that we can tap 3 of those Kitkin that we got, and then this guy gets +2/+0 and flying to the end of the turn. So that's nice to do a little bit of 5 damage in the air. We can also do it as a surprise, as a blocker. So it's pretty cool. Remember that, of course, they need to be Kitkin soldier tokens or Kitkin, and of course only Cloud Coat Ranger makes those in this deck. So keep those alive if you want to use the ability.
Pretty nice. Then we have a very, very good budget card for this deck. It's Captain of the Watch. For 6 mana, it's a human soldier. It's a 3/3. But when it enters the battlefield, you get to put down 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. So that's 4 creatures for 6 mana. Also 4 soldiers. And all your soldiers will have vigilance. And all your soldiers will have +1/+1. Well, other, so not Captain of the Watch himself. So it's a great anthem. Puts down a lot of soldiers. Gives your soldiers vigilance. Really, really strong card for the deck.
Super powerful. Love to see this on turn 6 if you can cast it. Then we have another card that also produces a lot of tokens. That's Avenger of Heliod. That is for 6 mana, a 1/3 human cleric. Alright, the guy's also not a soldier, but when this guy enters the battlefield, we get to put down a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to our devotion to white. You may have noticed we're playing monocolor, which means we're actually being quite liberal with the amount of white in our casting costs of our spells, because we're playing almost exclusively plains, so it doesn't really matter to us, which also means that our devotion to white is usually pretty high.
Very nice. Then we have Deploy to the Front. For 7 mana, it's a sorcery, and it gets to put down X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of total creatures on the battlefield, so also your opponent's creatures.
Yeah, it's nice if we're behind. Brings us right back into the game. Very nice. Then we move on to the tappers. That's a great way to make sure that either our opponents don't attack us with something chunky, or if we don't have Odric out and we do want to attack, and then we can make sure they can't block with something that would otherwise make it unfavorable for us. First one on the list, Gold Meadow Harrier. For 1 mana, we get a 1/1 Kitkin soldier. Hey, there we go. We actually got another Kitkin. There we go. And we can pay it white mana and tap it to tap target creature. Very simple.
Then we have Gideon's Lawkeeper. It's basically the same card, only this time it's a human soldier, not a Kitkin.
Not very fancy, but gets the job done. A Gerard Capashen is next for 5 mana. It's a 3/4 human soldier. At the beginning of your upkeep, we get to gain 1 life for each card in target opponent's hand. Now we're playing Commander, which means somebody's going to have at least 7 cards in hand, or maybe 14, or maybe 30 something. So we're going to be gaining a lot of life. Additionally, for 4 mana, we can tap a target creature. We can only do this if this guy's attacking. The cool thing is that we have 8 mana, we can do it 2 times, etc.
Then we will go to the synergy cards. The first one is Deathblade Elite. For 1 mana, it's a 1/1 soldier. It has Provoke. So when it attacks, you may have target creature untap and block this creature. So you also get to untap it. Odric doesn't do that.
Very sweet.
Then it can do, for 2 mana, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to and dealt by Deathblade Elite. So when you do this, it can't kill anything, but well, still.
It also won't die. I love this card so hard. It comes down turn 1, which is pretty sweet. That means we already got a body on the ground. Second of all, we can use it to block, because as long as we've got 2 mana out, doesn't matter how big the creatures that they're attacking with, this thing will survive the damage. We can use it to attack and make the biggest threat. Block this guy, pay 2 mana, this guy doesn't die, the threat doesn't die, but they couldn't use that threat to destroy our commander or whatever thing that they want to kill with their big blocker. Additionally, we can also use it once it's been pumped with a couple of anthems, and maybe it's got first strike. Now all of a sudden we use it to provoke one of their utility creatures. They thought they tapped it so they couldn't block, so they couldn't be killed by Odric. No, definitely Elite untaps that thing, and then we're going to kill their mana dorks or their awesome lightweight commander. It does so much. We got an equipment in there, which if it's equipped and this creature gets blocked, we get to draw cards. Works so great card. I'm very excited about it.
There's a lot of utility.
Yes, very excited about this card.
This deck.
Doesn't get enough respect, I think.
Okay, then we have Ballyris Banneret. For 2 mana, it's a 2/1 Kitkin soldier, and it states that all Kitkin and soldier spells cost 1 less to play.
Yeah.
So makes everything cheaper, including commander.
Absolutely. Then we have a Preeminent Captain. For 3 mana, we get a 2/2 Kitkin soldier. I was wrong, there's plenty of Kitkin in here.
Yes.
I'm just so focused on the soldier part. There's plenty of Kitkin. This guy's got first strike, and additionally, when this guy attacks, we get to put a soldier creature card from our hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. What's really awesome, we attack with this guy on turn 4, and then we get to put down a Captain of the Watch tapped and attacking. That's pretty nice.
Could be really strong.
For free.
Next card is Crusader of Podrick. For 3 mana, it's an XX card, well not especially XX, but it states that its power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. Now, don't go the wrong way and cast all your creatures because this will get really big. But when you have a board wipe, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Exactly.
So make it like 6 something, maybe something like that.
It's more
That's
than enough.
more than enough.
Exactly. It's this deck is unlike a lot of other token generating decks. You may think, oh, you want to go wide like Reese the Redeemed, or I want to get really big tokens like Omnath. It's like, no. This deck just wants a few creatures very fast to be able to use Odric's ability and doesn't want to spread itself too thinly. Next card we have is Gideon's Avenger. For 3 mana. We get a 2/2 human soldier, and whenever a creature an opponent controls gets tapped, then we get to put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. This guy just leave him on the battlefield, and slowly but surely this thing is going to grow to epic proportions, and this thing has the potential to become a huge threat on the battlefield.
True. Then we have Aerial Responder. For 3 mana, we have a Dwarf Soldier. It's 2/3, but it has Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Something like a Vampire Nighthawk in white. It's really an awesome card, and it has a lot of utility. Really strong. Some things will give it first strike too, and we will also have another card. I think we will get there in a few cards that will be very nice with this card together.
Yes. Then we have Archetype of Courage. For 3 mana. It's a 2/2 human soldier that states that our creatures have first strike and our opponent's creatures lose first strike and can have first strike. This is the example we was talking about, in the sense that now our little dwarf, what is his name again, Aerial Responder, would also have first strike. Not that he would need it, because he's already awesome.
I was actually talking about Odric Lunar Marshal. This is the next card. For 4 mana, it's a human soldier. It's a 3/3, and at the beginning of each combat, so also when you defend, when your opponent's combat, creatures you control gain first strike if a creature you control has first strike. And the same is true for Flying, Death Touch, Double Strike, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Skulk, Trample, and Vigilance. So when you have Aerial Responder and this one, all your creatures will have Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink.
Yeah, what's not to love about that? And of course we have more creatures with more different abilities. So Odric, the other Odric, I guess we should say.
Yeah.
Odric B. Odric L actually
Odric
does so much work.
2.0.
Because even if you have the first Odric and the second Odric, of course the first one's got first strike, this one gives first strike to everybody else, so there you go. Always almost really guaranteed nice. First strike with these guys. Next card is a card that I love very much as well. Palisade Giant. For 6 mana. It's a 2/7 giant soldier. Also, it states that all damage that will be dealt to you or another permanent you control is dealt to Palisade Giant instead. Now, what's of course very good is that this thing has a butt of 7 toughness, which means people have to be doing tons and tons of damage before it even dies. And if we can give it, if we can pump its toughness some way or make it indestructible, then people can come and attack you with whatever they want, and you're just not going to die because Palisade Giant doesn't die.
Really strong. Really a real big problem for a lot of people.
Exactly. So those are the soldier cards, and now we're going to look at ways that we're going to enhance them.
We divided the enhancement cards into anthems and equipment cards. So the first one is Consul's Lieutenant. It's for 2 mana, it's 2/1 first strike human soldier, and has Renown 1. This means that when it deals combat damage to a player, if it did not have a +1/+1 counter on it, it will get a +1/+1 counter on it. And this one states that when it attacks, if this one is renowned, other creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. Now mostly when you have this on turn 2, you will be able to attack on turn 3. There will be someone you can attack, and then you will have an anthem on the battlefield turn 3 actually, which is really fast.
Yeah, think about it. If on turn 3, what are people really going to be putting down? They're going to be putting down mana dorks. They're going to be putting down mana rocks. They may have a few creatures, but you know, this is 2/1 first strike, so no way that they're going to want to block against that.
True.
Next we have is Veteran Armorsmith. For 2 mana as well. It's a 2/3, so it's a pretty big butt for 2 mana. Human soldier and other soldiers you control get +0/+1. So that pumps the toughness of all our soldiers.
And then we have its counterpart, Veteran Swordsmith. For 3 mana, it's a 3/2 human soldier, and it gives all your other soldiers +1/+0, so +1 attack.
That's also very strong, especially when you got
stronger.
Yeah,
especially
those
with
tokens.
Odric,
Yeah, exactly. Then we have also such a great card, Mirror Entity. For 3 mana, it's a 1/1 shapeshifter. This guy's a changeling, which means this card is every creature at all times, so it means it's also a soldier. So this guy's masquerading as a soldier, that's fine. Nobody's the wiser. And it states that if we can pay X mana, and then creatures you control become XX and gain all creature types till end of turn. Now, the all creature types doesn't really matter that much in the sense that most of our creatures are already soldiers, but it could give soldiers the soldier creature type to some creatures like the knight that we have. More importantly, if we pay 4 mana into this thing, for example, then all those 1/1s will become 4/4s, and then we have an army that is going to be truly a very powerful threat. It does, of course, also nerf the creatures that may already be bigger.
That's true. Then we have Spear of Heliod. For 3 mana, it's a legendary enchantment artifact. It's an anthem. All creatures you control get +1/+1. And it also states that for 3 mana you can tap it to destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. So it's after it dealt damage.
Yeah.
But still really strong. People won't like to attack you with their strong stuff.
People are going to be very hesitant to do that. And 3 mana for just the +1/+1 is not too shabby. Paragon of New Dawn is next for 4 mana. It's a 2/2 human soldier. It states that other white creatures you control get +1/+1. Well, it doesn't really matter. All our creatures are white, so it's perfect. And we could also pay a mana and tap it to give target white creature you control vigilance until the end of turn. Could come in handy. Mostly it's here just for the anthem.
Yeah. Then we have Marshal's Anthem. For 4 mana, it's an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. It also has multi-kicker, and it states that when this one enters the battlefield, you can return up to X target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of times you kicked it. You can kick it for 2, and you can do that multiple times.
Yeah, usually just played for 6, for example.
Yeah, something like that. 1 creature getting back is already pretty strong.
Yeah, exactly. Then the last one of the anthems, that is Dictate of Heliod. We've got for 5 mana. It's an enchantment that states creatures you control get +2/+2. That's pretty sweet. That's going to make our creatures really big. It may seem us just 1 extra, but trust us, it makes a big difference. And it also has Flash, which means that we can use it as a surprise for opponents when they attack us. They expect our creatures to be small. All of a sudden, they are big and they're in trouble.
That's true, really nice. Then we go on to the equipment cards. The first one is Infiltration Lens. For 1 mana, it's an equipment like I just said. And when equipped creature becomes blocked, you may draw 2 cards. So you can choose with Odric to make a creature become blocked by something. And then you get to draw cards and kill the creature.
Yeah.
The equipment cost is 1.
Yeah.
So it's 2, and then you just equipped it.
Definitely,
really fast.
Elite loves this card.
Yeah.
Then we have Mask of Memory for 2 mana. It's an artifact equipment. It says when equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards and then discard a card. Equipped cost is 1. Once again, with Odric, we like to get through. We can make sure that our creature is not blocked, the one that's equipped, and then we can basically guarantee our draw 2 cards and discarding whatever card we don't really need at that time.
Yeah, so this time you turn it around, you don't block with the creature. The next one is Gorgons Head. For 1 mana, it's an equipment that gives a creature Death Touch, and the equipment cost is 2. Now the way to use this, of course, we have a lot of First Strike creatures, and you can give a creature First Strike Death Touch, and then you can choose with Odric to make something block it. So you choose 20/20 blocks it. Your 1/1 First Strike Death Touch.
Kills it.
It kills it.
Yeah,
very nice.
Pretty sweet. What's also very cool is, of course, if you do have your normal Odric Master Tactician and Odric Lunatic Marshal on the battlefield, and then you can equip it, one of those with Gorgons Head, that means everybody has Death Touch and everybody has First Strike on your side. That is truly nasty.
Yeah.
A card that's the same kind of Gorgon's Flail for 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has Death Touch, so this time it just gives us an extra +1/+1, and equip cost of 2. A little bit more expensive, but essentially the same.
Then we have Swiftfoot Boots. For 2 mana, it's an equipment that gives a creature a hexproof and haste. The equipment cost is just 1, so that's really nice to give it haste right away and hexproof.
Yeah.
Mostly use it on your commander. Could be on something else.
To protect it, for example. What's also
Yeah.
nice is late game, maybe when Odric's already been killed once, they don't know when you're going to cast it. Of course, you can cast it, immediately equip it, you protect it, and you can immediately attack with your group and start using that scalpel-like removal against your opponent's enemy. So Swiftfoot Boots is a nice little surprise there. Next, we have Luxodon Warhammer for 3 mana. It's got a equip cost of 3, and it also states that equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has trample and lifelink. I mean, just throw this on Odric Master Tactician and you're going to town, gaining 6 life, 6 damage. First strike is hard to block as well. It's just nasty.
Really, really nice. Then we have Strata Sight. For 3 mana, it's an artifact equipment. It has imprint, so when it enters you can search your library for a land card this time and then exile the land card. And the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name as the exiled card. So you choose a planes, you will have like 6 planes, so equipped creature will have +6/+6.
Yeah, if any of our opponents are playing planes as well, which there's a good chance at least a couple will, then you're also going to get +1/+1 for those lands.
True.
So that is sick if you would put it on a, let's say, a 2/3 flying vigilance lifelink.
Would be nice.
Exactly.
It has an equipment cost of 3, so those were our enhancement cards, David.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the removal.
We divided the removal spells into targeted removal and board wipes. Now, first of our targeted spells is Condemn. For just 1 white mana, it's an instant. Allows us to put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's library. Its controller gains life equal to its toughness. I mean, that is sick. It doesn't destroy, it puts it to the bottom of the library, so graveyard decks hate this. Indestructible doesn't stop anything because, well, you know, they're not being destroyed. I love this card. It's super strong. What do you think?
It's a really nice card. It's especially good for this deck, of course. It's really nice in this deck. A little bit same like, well, not the same. Celestial Flare, the next card. For 2 mana, it's an instant card. And it says that target player sacrifices an attacking or blocking creature. So this could come in really handy against those single hexproof attackers or blockers.
Exactly, it's very strong, or indestructible for that matter. Then we have Lieutenant Qatar for 3 mana. It's a 2/2 bird soldier legend. So this guy's good. He's also got flying, so we can just be attacking with this guy, minding our own business. But we can also pay 2 mana and then sacrifice this guy to remove target attacking creature from the game. That is really nasty. So while we're just playing, it's get pumped because it's a soldier, it's attacking, you know, it's got evasion. And then later on, people are like, am I going to attack? No, because for just 2 mana, if you leave that 2 mana, you can decide, no, I'm going to exile that thing. Or, I mean, you have to sacrifice it.
Yeah. Then we have Entrapment Maneuver. For 4 mana, it's an instant. Target player sacrifices an attacking creature. There you have it again. And this time around, it's a bit more expensive, of course. You create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, where X is the creature's toughness.
Yeah, this is a super fun surprise when somebody's been pumping their creature to magnificent proportions. Then we have an oldie but a goodie, Oblivion Ring for 3 mana enchantment. With this card enters the battlefield, we're going to exile target non-land permanent, and then they get it back when this card leaves the battlefield. What's super nice about this is that it hits creatures, it hits enchantments, it hits artifacts, it hits planeswalkers, it hits everything that could be a problem except for lands.
This is the same as Banishing Light. The words are a little different, but practically it does the same.
Exactly. Then we have Fairgrounds Warden for 3 mana. It's a 1/3 dwarf soldier. And when this guy enters the battlefield, we get to exile target creature an opponent controls until Fairgrounds Warden leaves the battlefield. So it's kind of like a little human Oblivion Ring, which we can attack with, we can block with, and the only difference is that it can only be target a creature.
Yeah, that's true. Then we have Intrepid Hero. For 3 mana, it's a human soldier. It's a 1/1, but you can tap to destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Oldie, really nice.
So nice to give the Swiftfoot boots to this guy.
Yeah.
When you cast it, and immediately really nice. People, you know, it's got hexproof, which is nice, and of course you'd be able to tap to destroy that fatty. Then we have Catapult Master for 5 mana. We get a 3/3 human soldier. And the ability is tap 5 untapped soldiers you control, exile target creatures. You can, of course, remember that you can also use Catapult Master, so you only really need 4 other creatures.
Really, really nice. Then we go on to the board wipes. First one is Calemny's Captain. I don't know how you pronounce it. Calemny's Captain, yeah, that's true. Then we have for 5 mana, it's a giant soldier, it's a 5/5. It has Vigilance and it has Monstrosity 3 for 7 mana. So you get to put down 3 +1/+1 counters. You can do it anytime in the game.
Yeah, you only do it one time.
You can only do it one time, that's true. When you do, exile all artifacts and enchantments. So it is a board wipe against artifacts and enchantments.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll hit those creatures, but sometimes you just got to get rid of all those mana rocks that your opponents have amassed over the course of the game, or those troublesome enchantments. Tragic Arrogance is next for 5 mana. It's a sorcery. And then it states that for each player, you choose among them permanents that player controls, an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker, and then our opponent has to sacrifice the rest of the non-land permanents. So it's pretty sick, because if they don't have one of each, they're going to be left with a lot less. And the worst thing is that we get to pick what they keep. So they're going to keep the worst stuff, we're going to keep for ourselves, we're going to keep the best stuff, of course.
Really, really nice. Then we have Hallowed Burial. For 5 mana, it's a sorcery, and it states that you can put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's library. Really nice against indestructible, nothing helps, no regenerate, hexproof, nothing helps. Really nice. Super
good board wipe against our opponents. Then we have another great one, Planar Cleansing for 6 mana. It just says destroy all non-land permanents. So that's, what we just had talked about. Everything that's not a land is gone.
True. Then we have Mass Calcify. For 7 mana, it's a sorcery, and you get to destroy all non-white creatures. So everything you has will stay alive. And a lot of white creatures, of course.
Exactly. Those are the removal spells. Now let's have a look at some of the utility cards.
We divided the utility cards into protection cards and draw cards. Yes, we actually have draw in white this time around.
Believe it or not.
The first one of the protection cards is Brave the Elements. For 1 white mana, it's an instant. You can choose a color. White creatures you control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. So they can be targeted by that color. They can be blocked by a creature of that color. They can gain damage of that sources with that color. So this is really, really strong. David really likes the protection from colors.
Oh yeah. Do I love me some Brave the Elements, especially because it also gives protection to your entire team, because it's white creatures you control, and those are all our creatures. So it is absolutely sick. And as we already said, it's good when we want to attack and we want to make sure we don't get blocked if we don't have our commander out. It's good when people say, deal 13 damage to all creatures. Good for that. As it's good when it says, I'm going to use targeted removal. You'll say, no, you can't do that. It's awesome.
It's really strong.
Then we have Rootborn Defenses for 3 mana. It's an instant. It says populate, so we get to make a copy of one of our soldier tokens in this case. And creatures you control are indestructible this turn. Very nice. It's a great surprise against board wipes. Again, the damage as well. And it's also great against when you're attacking, when they would say that they were going to block in a way that's unfavorable.
True. Then we have Make a Stand. For 3 mana, it's an instant. Creatures you control gain +1 attack and are indestructible until end of turn. So you can use this on the attack to just kill someone.
Exactly, a little bit of extra damage.
A little bit of extra damage. And you can use it as protection.
Yeah. And finally we have Fanatical Devotion for 3 mana. It's an enchantment. States sacrifice a creature, regenerate target creature. So if somebody does a board wipe, somebody's going to destroy all your stuff, you basically sack half your creatures to make sure the other half survives. This deck doesn't like getting wiped with board wipes, so that's why we put in these protection cards to make sure that we that our team stays out there. And of course also remember not to play yourself too thin by playing all your cards one after the other. To mitigate that a little bit less, we also put in some draw cards. So what's the first of the draw cards?
The first one is Relic Seeker. For 2 mana we get a 2/2 human soldier. Good body. It has Renown 1, so when it deals combat damage you get a +1/+1 counter. And when it does get renowned, which it will, you can search your library for an equipment card. We have 6 of those. Reveal it and put it into your hand. So you draw the equipment you need, which are really strong, synergetic equipment cards in this deck.
Yeah, I think we have 7 cards.
7
equipment, yeah.
I thought 6, but okay.
Yeah, and the great thing is that we made sure, because this card searches for an equipment, that we have stuff that's early equipment and late equipment. So we have equipment so just for 1, we have for 2, for 3. So for no matter what point in the game you are, you can search for a piece of equipment that's exactly what you need. Either something that pushes through damage, or it allows us to draw even more cards after, of course, the card that this drew us. Card is very similar in that sense is Taj Nar Swordsmith. For 4 mana, we get a 2/3 cat soldier. When this guy enters the battlefield, you can pay an additional X mana. If we do, we get to search for an equipment with that converted mana cost and put it onto the battlefield for free. And then we shuffle our library. How awesome is that?
Really awesome.
So we're never going to be playing this for 4. Later on in the game, we can play it for 6 or 7. And we're going to be able to play that artifact that we need at that point in time for free.
Soldiers like their equipment.
Exactly.
They need it.
And this guy looks for it.
The next one is Mentor of the Meek. This one doesn't search for equipment. For 3 mana, it's a human soldier. It's a 2/2 body. And whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, which most soldiers you have are.
Including the tokens?
Including the tokens, of course. You may pay 1 per instance a soldier enters the battlefield. And if you do that, you draw a card.
Arguably the strongest draw card in White Weenie possible, right? Then finally a card that is not a soldier, but this guy's coming in looking over our soldiers, and that is Emeria Shepherd for 7 mana. This angel is a 4/4 flyer looking over Odric and his team, making sure that should one of them falter, she's going to get him back into the battlefield by having landfall. That means that whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, we get to return target non-land permanent. So that includes our artifacts, enchantments, etc. and creatures. We get to return that from the graveyard to your hand, but if it's a plains, we get to put it onto the battlefield directly. And guess what? We're playing tons of plains, so that's essentially every turn we're playing a land, we get to return something back from our graveyard to the battlefield.
Really, really nice. Those were our utility cards, so let's take a look at the last bit, the land cards. So we're going to be done with the land part pretty quickly, because we only have 4 non-basic lands in this deck and 36 plains. So let's take a look at the 4 non-basic lands. What's the first one?
First one is Forbidding Watchtower. Now this is a land that enters tapped, that gives us a white mana, but we can also pay 2 mana and then turn it into a 1/5 white soldier creature token until the end of turn. It's still a land though. Maybe we want to use a surprise blocker. Of course it does get the bonuses and buffs that all the other soldiers would get, so that's pretty cool.
The next one is Blighted Stuff. It's a land of course, and it gives you colorless mana. Not a big problem, you have a lot of white mana in the deck. And there's some extra. For 4 mana you can tap it and sacrifice it. You gain 2 life for each creature you control. Mostly you won't use it, but maybe
could get you out of
could get you out of a sticky situation
exactly,
in the end.
And otherwise it's just a land, so it does not really taking up any other valuable spots.
True.
Then we have Windbrisk Heights. Now this one also, it comes in tap. It also gives us a white mana. But it also has a very cool ability. It's Hideaway, which means when it comes in, we look at the top 4 cards of our library, pick one of those, pop it underneath it, so we're exiling it, the rest goes at the bottom of our library, and then later on in the game, when we attack with 3 or more creatures, we can pay a mana and tap this land, so we're going to need 2 lands for that, and we get to cast that spell for free. Nice little card draw for just a land.
Really nice. Then we have Daru Encampment. It taps for colorless mana again, but we can also tap it and tap a white mana, and then target soldier creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So we can do that instant speed. Pretty nice.
Nice little surprise. May just be enough. Those are the lands. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, this deck is a lot of fun. I mean, come on, Soldier Tribal. How awesome is that? You may think, yeah, it's mono white. That's going to be a problem to build a deck. Yeah, it's not an easy deck to construct, but it's already been built now, and it is super fun. You've got Odric. You could choose how stuff gets blocked. You can remove stuff with scalpel-like accuracy. Make sure you don't spread yourself too thin, but should you do that and keep open your spells that protect them, you can blow your opponents out so hard because they think, I'm going to destroy your stuff. They can't. You got your instant speed, protection, your stuff is indestructible, your stuff gets bigger, your stuff gets, at a certain point, it's going to get first strike, lifelink, flying. It's going to be so, Death Taunt is going to be so much fun to see that army of soldiers coming in, looking for that equipment. They're getting ready. They're getting buffed with their enchantments as well. You really get the feeling like Odric is leading a legion and is going to go kick some serious butt. I love it.
Yeah, what I really like about the deck is, of course, a tribal deck, but it's not too easy to play. It's not like boring, simple to play. It's really nice. You have a lot of shenanigans in the deck, and if you are a better player, you will really pilot this deck better than just a beginning player. That's what I actually really like about the deck. It's not too difficult too, so a beginning player can start with the deck, but he will get better with this deck.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances where you can get some incremental advantages by doing the right plays. Absolutely. Exactly. It's also pretty affordable, right?
Yeah, the whole deck is below $28. We did the math on magiccards.info, which compares prices of a lot of shops that sell magic cards. And this price is including the commander and including all the lands, so you can really get this deck for below $28.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really cheap.
And check out the full deck list in the description below. Also join us on Facebook and on Twitter at Budget MTG Decks, because we have discussions there. We're going to be we already started posting non-budget upgrades for our decks. So if you want to know what are some non-budget upgrades, we don't discuss them in the videos, but we are going to be posting there. We post them also in the comment section of these videos. So we're also going to ask you to subscribe to us here on YouTube. It really helps out a lot. So subscribe to get the most powerful decks and advice everyone can afford. Thanks for watching. I'm David.
And I'm Ruud.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.